yes, there will be a 0.25% cut next week.
Yay, nailed it again. Two for two, baby. One more, and I will head to Vegas for the next announcement. Just kidding. Okay, so what am I talking about here? Obviously, the interest rate announcement earlier today by the Bank of Canada, which saw another rate cut of 0.25%, bringing the policy interest rate down from 4.75 last month to 4.5 this month, which was down from 5% since last year. Actually, we had two consecutive hikes last June and July 2023 of 0.25%, bringing the policy rate up to 5%, where it stayed until last month. It was cut by 0.25%, and again this month, for the second consecutive month, another cut of 0.25%, bringing again the policy rate down to 4.5%. So, what does this all mean? Why is every real estate agent and mortgage broker on social media shouting about this? Well, it's very simple. It affects mortgages, it affects the market, it affects a lot of things. So I'm going to break it down for you very simply. The policy interest rate affects variable rate mortgages and lines of credit because those interest rates tend to fluctuate with the policy rate. So you have to add 2.2% to the policy rate to get the prime rate. And then banks offer their mortgages or mortgage interest rates based on the prime rate. So policy rate is 4.5%. So we add 2.2% to that, bringing us to 6.7%. Excuse me. So that's where the prime rate sits today, down from 6.95% last month. So, for example, if you have a line of credit, and lines of credit are like home equity line of credit, for example, is generally at prime plus a half, which means prime 6.7% plus a half percent, 0.5%, bringing your interest rate to 7.2%, which is down from 7.45% last month and down from 7.7%. So a whole percentage rate, half percentage rate from May. So if you were paying at a 7.7% earlier this year, now you're down to 7.2%, which is not bad. I mean, it's a little bit of relief. It's not, earth shattering or anything like that. What this amounts to, generally speaking, is about $15 or so for every $100,000 of mortgage owing, right? So if you have, for example, $500,000 mortgage, 15 times 5 is $75. So you should see your mortgage payments drop by about $75, give or take, right? So depending on a number of other factors. So that's where we're at. I mean, like I said, it's not earth shattering, but it's a bit of relief, and we're going in the right direction for people. So you may hear a collective sigh of relief for all these homeowners and people with lines of credit, etc., out there. But what you won't hear is the stampede of buyers rushing back into the market. Okay, I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, wait for rate cuts to come down, and the market will pick up again, etc." Well, it's still too soon. Homes are still unaffordable. Prices haven't come down very much. And a $15 drop in for every $100,000 mortgage is not going to incentivize or even allow people to qualify for purchasing to see a spark in the market. So I expect market to remain flat, at least for the next little while. We may be getting more rate cuts by the end of the year. I watched the press conference with the Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem and Deputy Governor Carolyn Rogers, and the tone was optimistic. So I have to say, earlier press conferences, he didn't have a very optimistic tone until lately, but today's tone was quite optimistic by Tiff Macklem, and he actually admitted that there could be more rate cuts, which is unheard of from his end, because he would never say anything. If you tie him up and torture him, he wouldn't admit that there was any rate cuts coming or not coming, et cetera. But today's press conference, he actually said that if the conditions are right, we could see further cuts, which to me is about as much of an admission as rate cuts as ever for TIF. But so that's good news. So we have 3 more announcements until the end of the year. One in September, one in October. They're going to skip November, and then one in December. What are the chances of rate cuts for all 3? Probably not very good. 2 out of 3? Possibly. I'd say it's about a 50-50 right now, that we're down to 4% policy rate by the end of the year. Now, who knows? I mean, if conditions change, if there's a major catastrophe, or something happens like a pandemic or another war or something, that may change everything. But I'm just saying right now, if things keep going the way they're going, there's a very good chance that we're going to get, I would say almost guaranteed at least 1 more rate cut, maybe 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. So that hopefully will give some relief to people with lines of credit and variable rate mortgage people. So what about fixed rate mortgages? So good question. Glad you asked. The fixed rate side is based on the bond yields. So it has nothing to do with the policy rate. However, sometimes they go, not hand in hand necessarily, but they are kind of correlated, because banks want to offer competitive fixed rates, right? So if the fixed rate is up here and variable rates down here, then everybody's going to go for the variable rate. So there is going to be some correlation there. So if variable rates continue to come down, I would expect that the fixed rate would come down as well, which would help people in a renewal situation. And you're going to see a ton of renewals between now and a year from now and 2 years from now, because don't forget, most people take out a 5-year term. Okay, so what happened in 2020 after the pandemic? The real estate market started booming. We saw record sales numbers starting from about the mid 2020 to the end of 2021 or early 2022, March 22, when the first interest rate hike started. So there's a good year and a half in there, half of 2020, all of 2021, and early 2022, where people took out mortgages, and most of these mortgages were 5-year terms. So if you do the math, you're going to see a ton of renewals in the second half of 2025, and in all of 2026, and then early 2027. So by that time, talking about a year from now, hopefully the policy rate will come down even more, and interest rates will come down even more to allow these people to, and fixed rates as well will come down, hopefully, to allow these people to renew their mortgages, and we won't see a flood of inventory hit the market, bringing prices down. So for all those people calling for a housing crash, it probably won't happen, because I anticipate more rate cuts happening between now and in the next 12 months or so. So if it doesn't happen by the end of 2024, we should see more rate cuts by mid-2025. And because it's all based on the inflation rate as well. So right now, inflation is within the Bank of Canada's target range of 1% to 3%, and they want to keep it in that range. And as long as it stays in that range, we should see more rate cuts. So no need to panic at this time. I think things will balance themselves out. We will see more rate cuts, and people will be able to renew their mortgages. And also, don't forget, right now, if you can get a fixed rate at 5% or lower, and I'm sure those those products are out there, people had to qualify for the stress test at 5.25%. So in 2021, the stress test went up to 5.25%. So anybody who bought, even before that, it was like 4.79%. So those are in line with today's fixed rates, right? So if you were able to qualify at those stress test levels back then theoretically you should be able to, renew your mortgage at this point in time and still pay it. Now, if you have to requalify, don't forget they're going to add 2 more percentage points on top of your qualifying rate. But I'm talking about, the automatic renewals that the bank is going to send you, because they might say, okay, here we go, your term's coming up for renewal. We're offering you a 5% or whatever rate they're going to give you for the next 5 years. And if you crunch the numbers and you can do it, there should be no reason why you can't do it if you had already qualified at that number. I mean, obviously, unless your life changes, circumstances changes, job changes, income changes, all these things happen for sure. But so I don't think there's any need to panic, at least at this point in time. We probably won't see a market crash unless something crazy happens. Okay. The other thing I liked about the press conference today was one reporter asked a great question. I don't remember who he was or where he was from, but it's a question that I've been asking, at least online. I don't know if Tiff watches me or not, but he asked about this, you know, uh, policy of raising interest rates to combat inflation. If there was a better way to do it, because it's not fair across the board. It affects lower income people and limited income people more so than the higher earners. So it's not even across all socioeconomic classes. And that's something I've been saying for months now, when they first started increasing interest rates, because I don't agree with it, because it does affect the little guy more than it affects the higher earners. The higher earners don't care. It's a higher interest rate. Who cares? They have the money. They're going to keep spending. So it's only the, like I said, the low income people and the limited income people that are going to be affected by these high interest rates, et cetera. And he asked that very same question, and Tiff kind of danced around that point a little bit. He didn't really answer it. He kind of acknowledged it and said, well, we can't control who it affects. We can only do broad-based policy decisions. Just the same old rhetoric. Inflation affects everybody, but yes, it does. But again, it's the little guy that gets hurt more with higher inflation and higher interest rates. So when you add higher interest rates on top of inflation and you keep pounding, that little guy more, I'm not sure how helpful that is. And a lot of people are hurting at this moment in time. So that's why I'm happy that the rate is coming down. And I hope that it keeps coming down. Okay, so if there are any questions, by all means, I can take them now. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Lambros Demos here. This is Live at Lunch. Thank you so much for joining me. I see a bunch of people already joined here. I'm trying to wave to everybody. If you do have a question or a comment, by all means, post it here and I'll answer it while I'm on the air. Because you never know who else watching may have the same question as you do. So there are no silly questions. So don't be shy or anything like that. Just ask your question here, or if you just want to make a comment. If you agree with me, give me a like. If you don't agree with me, that's fine too. You can put your comment below, and we can chat about it. If you'd rather send me a DM, that's cool too. Then we can talk privately. But like I said, when you ask a question here, it helps other people who may have the same questions and concerns. All right, cool. So if let me just check my cheat sheet and see. Yeah, so I did say that the Bank of Canada may have further rate cuts in store, because they do. This is the one thing that Tiff also mentioned, that they expect inflation, core inflation at least, to fall to 2.5% in the second half of 2024, which is encouraging. Obviously, it's not going to go straight down. There might be a little bit up and down along the way, but they expect it to be at around 2.5% by the end of the year, which is great news. And that means that more rate cuts should be coming. Okay. Excellent. So let's move on to the stats. So we're just over 3 weeks into July. Oh, here we have a question here from Dr. Irene. Irene, thank you for watching, and thank you for your question. Irene asks, if you'd like to sell your property and don't have to right now, how long would you wait? Well, great question. And, I'm 2 for 2 on my interest rate predictions, but, I don't really have a crystal ball or anything like that. So I can't tell you exactly how long to wait. But I like the first part of your question. If you'd like to sell your property and don't have to right now, then I would not sell right now because it's not the best market right now. You know, prices are flat. In some cases, are coming down. I mean, sellers are stubborn. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Some sellers are stubborn because some don't have to sell, so they're just keeping their houses on the market at a high rate. But buyers are, a lot of them are tire kickers, so they're gonna try some lowball offers, etc. And other properties not moving. You know, even if they're listed at a reasonable number, we're not getting the showings. I'm going to go into stats in a second. Everything has come down. The number of showings have come down. The number of offers have come down. The number of sales have come down. You know, summer is not the best time to sell anyway in any given year. August is probably the lowest month for sales volume. August and December. So those are the two lowest months for sales volume. Good for buyers because there's less competition, but not for sellers. Okay, so I mean, if you're buying and selling in the same market, then it really doesn't matter because one washes out the other. So there it is. But if you're selling only, I would probably wait until after Labor Day. Second half of September, October is normally a good time for selling because the market tends to pick up at that time. Right, so we see a peak in the spring in any given year. It goes down in the summertime and then peaks up again, not as high as the spring, but it peaks up again in the fall. So I would wait until after September 15th or so. You know, second half of September, early October. The weather is still good for people to go out there and look at houses. It's not too cold yet, etc. We're not yet into the holidays, so it's perfect. Kids are settled in school, so if you know, parents or families with small children are, you know, looking around, you know, their kids are settled in school, everything's pretty much back in a normal routine. So that's when the market tends to pick up again. So if you're thinking of selling this year and don't have to right now, then hold on at least until September and keep tuning in to my lives and keep watching my videos, and I will let you know when the market is picking up again, when it's a good time to do so. But thanks for your question. Really appreciate it. If anybody else has any questions, by all means, you can post them here, and hopefully I'll see them and can answer them for you. So I did touch on the stats as per Irene's question and say everything's down right now, you know, but inventory is down too, right? Inventory I looked at Toronto, and I looked at Peel region. In Toronto, inventory is down about 17%, talking about new supply. And in Peel region, new supply is down about 13%. And sales volume is down as well, almost in line with supply. So we saw a drop in sales volume in Toronto, about 13% compared to a drop in supply of 17%. And then in Peel region, sales volume dropped 10% versus the drop in supply of 13%. So very close, you know, so less options for buyers. I mean, then the less sales as well, and less showings as well, or fewer showings is probably the more grammatically correct term. So we've seen fewer showings, a drop of 19% in Toronto, and a drop of 16% in Peel region, which again is very close to the drop in inventory. So no surprise there. The number of offers has dropped a little bit more than the number of showings, which that means it's good news for buyers because there's less competition. So now the offers are dropping 28% in Toronto and 21% in Peel region. And if you look at the ratio of offers to sales, I'm comparing this to last month, so the first 23 days of June versus the first 23 days of July. We had about 2.17 offers for every sale in June, and now it's down to 1.8 offers for every sale in July. So that's great news for buyers. There's less than 2 offers for every sale, so the chances of you being in competition are decreasing. And then ditto for Peel region, it dropped from 2.75 offers for every sale to 2.43 offers for every sale. So that's a good drop as well for buyers in Peel region. So just over two offers. So you'll be in competition with one other person, right? Which is not that bad. It's better than the 5 or 6 or 10 offers that you get in those bidding wars, etc. And days on market went up slightly, so we're looking at 4 more days to sell an average property in Toronto, and 3 more days to sell an average property in Peel Region. But I mean, yes, market has slowed down a little bit, but this is one other thing to keep in mind. Most activity happens on the weekends. So we see Saturday and Sunday, we see a lot of showing activity and sales activity, like offers going in, et cetera, et cetera. So, but when you look at these numbers here, they cover the first 23 days of the month. And in June, we had 4 weekends in the first 23 days. However, in July, we only had 3 weekends. Okay, so that's one less weekend, one full less weekend of people going out there looking at houses. So when you keep that in the back of your mind and say, and look at this number drop, you expect it to drop. So it's not that bad. Actually, it's not that bad. It hasn't really changed month over month. So the market started slowing down weeks ago, maybe even months ago. So, but it hasn't really dropped more significantly from June to July, in my opinion. When you factor these weekends in. And also, there's one less day because Canada Day is a write-off, especially Canada Day weekend is pretty much a write-off. You know, so but I'm not including the June portion of the Canada Day weekend in these stats, but I am including the July 1st in these stats. So again, you write off Canada Day. You consider there's one less weekend as well in July. So these numbers really aren't that bad. Okay. If there are any other questions, by all means, I will take them right now. Happy to. On interest rates, on the real estate market, anything really that you want to ask, please do so. And if you're watching this on the replay, by all means, you can still ask your question. I'll get to it as soon as possible. Otherwise, have a great afternoon, everybody, and stay safe. I'll see you next week.